That was really good. I want you to imagine, an innocent man with me. Not just any innocent man, but Jesus. I want you to imagine his life, imagine his birth, his perfection, and his complete and utter existence without sin. And I want you to think about the fact that this is the same man who was given an unjust trial, who was crucified, who was tortured before his crucifixion. And I want you to think of the reason he did all this. Like Andrew just mentioned, its Bible is a personable story. The reason for it is us. His love for us is why he died for us. So, if he loves us, then shouldn't we love others? Shouldn't we show our love to others? Return to the book of James with me. James chapter 1, starting in verse 23, James 1:23, it says, "If anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man who looks intently at his natural face in a mirror." So, if anyone is a hearer and not a doer, what does that mean? Well, it means to only listen to the word and not put it into action, not put it into our lives to be committed to and to be completed. Continuing, it says, "For he looks at himself and goes away and at once forgets what he was like." Are we the type of person that when we see we're doing something wrong, in the moment we see it and we're like, "Oh, I'm doing something wrong. Oh, please forgive me." And then later we turn around and we do the exact same thing again? We look at ourselves in the mirror and we see that our hair is a mess, and yet we don't comb it. We turn away and then we go about our day and we forget that our hair is a mess. And we look back in the mirror and we're like, "Oh yeah, I need to do something about that." And then we don't do anything about it. Is that the type of person that we are? Is that the type of person that we should be? Of course not. In a couple chapters over, James chapter 4, verse 17, it says, "So whoever knows the right thing to do and fails to do it, for him it is sin." And spreading God's word is the right thing to do. But how often do we not spread that word? How often do we have the chance to spread it, and yet so often we forget about it? Or so often we don't think about, "Oh, this person might not be saved. Let me at least try to talk to them about the gospel. Let me at least mention it to them and see if they're saved," because a chance is still a chance. And a chance with a soul isn't one that I would want to take. And I would not think that anybody else would want to take that chance either. So the question is, how often are we not showing God's love? Because we can say we love someone, and we can say it forever and over again, but unless there's action put into it, it means nothing. So how often are we putting action into what we say is God's love? And how often are we showing people who don't know what God's love is, how often are we showing them what it is? How would we show someone what God's love is? Well, God died for us, or Jesus died for us. My apologies. Jesus died for us, so he loves us. And so why wouldn't we tell other people of that love, which is Jesus' death and resurrection, which is how we get our salvation? In Ezekiel chapter 3, starting in verse 18, it says, I say to the wicked, you surely shall die. If you say to the wicked, you surely shall die, and you give him no warning, nor speak to warn the wicked from his wicked way in order to save his life, that wicked person will die in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at your hand. Continuing, it says, but if you warn the wicked, and he does not turn from his wickedness, nor from his wicked way, he shall die for his iniquity, but you will have delivered your soul. I don't know about you, brethren, but I would much rather get to heaven and not have to worry about the fact that there's people in hell that I could have potentially helped to get to heaven. Like, imagine being there and somebody turns to you and they're like, I saw you. Why didn't you say anything to me? They're on Judgment Day, and you see someone that you knew very well. Maybe it was a coworker, maybe it was a friend at school, maybe it was just somebody you met on a day-to-day basis. But they turn to you and they say, why? Why didn't you help me? Why am I here right now and you're over there? That's a hard thought to have to think about how many chances have you missed, and not for a good reason, not because, we don't speak the same language, but because, I just didn't think about it. You weren't thinking about God? You weren't thinking about what is the right thing to do? You weren't thinking about this person's soul when you were talking to them? Brethren, being a Christian is not a job. Being a Christian is not something that you can do sometimes. It's a life. And you live a life. So we need to live as Christians. And so I leave you with this one thought. In your day-to-day life, when you go about doing whatever it is you do, your hobbies, your work, your school, every person you meet could potentially not be saved. And that's a soul. And you shouldn't take chances with souls. You shouldn't gamble with, this person might be saved. It's best if I don't say anything. Why? Because you don't want them to not like you? Trust me, in heaven, nobody's going to care if you're liked or not. Nobody's going to be like, that person said something mean? How dare they? Nobody's going to think like that. So, don't worry about what people think. Just do what is right. And brother, we have a life to live. So let's live it. Let's live it to the best of our ability. Thank you.